Picture this. It is 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a standard Tuesday. You are staring at your laptop screen, and suddenly it feels like someone poured wet concrete directly into your brain. Your eyelids are heavy, your focus is entirely shattered, and you are desperately reaching for your third cup of coffee just to survive the next meeting. Sound familiar? Most of us write this off as a bad night of sleep, a stressful morning, or just a lack of motivation. But what if the real culprit is hiding in plain sight? What if the lunch you ate an hour ago is actively sabotaging your mental clarity?
That is exactly the illusion millions of people live under every single day. We blame our workload, our boss, or our sleep hygiene. But beneath the surface, inside your bloodstream, there is a silent biochemical riot happening. We are talking about the glucose ghost, the hidden, violent blood sugar spikes that are quietly destroying our cognitive potential meal after meal.
It is a terrifying but fascinating thought, honestly. The idea that our daily meals are dictating our brain power in real time, effectively hijacking our cognition. Today, we are diving deep into the metabolic neuroscience of brain fog, the hidden cost of our modern diets, and how stabilizing our energy might just be the ultimate biological life hack. Let us start with the engine itself. The human brain is notoriously greedy when it comes to energy, isn't it?
It is exceptionally greedy. Think of the brain as a hyper-advanced, incredibly demanding supercomputer. It only makes up about 2% of your total body mass, yet it burns through 20% of your daily energy. It requires a constant, ultra-stable flow of fuel to keep your memory sharp, your attention locked in, and your neurons firing efficiently. The absolute key word here is stable. The brain thrives on predictability. When you introduce sudden, violent fluctuations in that energy supply, you are essentially throwing a wrench into the delicate gears of that supercomputer.
So, what actually happens during one of these violent fluctuations? Let us say I eat a typical modern lunch, maybe a massive plate of pasta, a heavily processed sandwich, or even a sugary drink. Walk us through the crime scene in the bloodstream.
It is quite the biochemical drama. When you consume highly processed carbohydrates or refined sugars, they break down incredibly fast. Your bloodstream is suddenly flooded with a massive tidal wave of glucose. Now your body panics. It senses the danger and says, "This is too much, too fast." So the pancreas slams the emergency button and releases a huge surge of insulin. Insulin is the hormone responsible for shoveling all that excess glucose out of the blood and into your cells.
And I assume that is where the notorious crash comes in. The insulin does its job a little too well.
Exactly. It overcorrects the problem. That tidal wave of glucose is suddenly drained away, leaving you with a severe blood sugar crash. And that crash is exactly what you feel at 2 in the afternoon. The fatigue, the sudden irritability, the absolute inability to focus, that is your brain experiencing acute energy deprivation. It is literally starving in the aftermath of a flood.
It is wild to think about that because we have completely normalized the food coma in our modern culture. We literally joke about needing a nap after a big lunch, completely ignoring the fact that we are repeatedly putting our brains through metabolic trauma.
Metabolic trauma is a fantastic way to phrase it, and the damage goes much deeper than just feeling sleepy. We are now seeing through emerging research that these massive glucose swings trigger transient inflammatory responses. Your brain is essentially getting inflamed after certain meals. Furthermore, we used to think insulin only mattered for the body for muscles and fat storage. But the brain is packed with insulin receptors. They are crucial for learning, for memory consolidation, and for overall neuronal signaling.
So, if we are constantly spiking our insulin, we are not just risking physical issues like weight gain or diabetes. We are actively blunting our brain's ability to learn and remember. We are essentially eating ourselves into temporary cognitive dysfunction on a daily basis.
That is the harsh, undeniable reality. Chronic metabolic turbulence can lead to insulin resistance in the brain itself. Researchers are now looking very closely at the links between this neuroinflammation, chronic brain fog, and long-term neurodegenerative diseases. We are treating our brains like a high-performance sports car, putting cheap, dirty fuel in the tank day after day, and wondering why the engine is knocking and sputtering.
That brings up a fascinating angle regarding our emotions, because it is not just about being able to focus on a spreadsheet or write an email. It is about how we interact with the world. Everyone knows the feeling of being hangry. snapping at a coworker, or losing patience with a partner before dinner. Is there a deeper physiological mechanism connecting this glucose roller coaster to our emotional stability?
Oh, absolutely. The nervous system is deeply, fundamentally metabolic. When your blood sugar crashes, your body interprets that sudden drop in energy as a literal survival threat. It does not know you are just sitting safely in an office. It thinks you are starving in the wilderness. So, what does it do? It releases stress hormones, specifically cortisol and adrenaline, to force your liver to pump out emergency glucose.
Wait, so that afternoon anxiety, the racing heart, or the sudden irritability might not be a psychological issue at all? It is just a chemical panic attack because my blood sugar tanked?
You hit the nail on the head. We often try to therapy our way out of anxiety, mood swings, or lack of motivation that are entirely driven by what we ate 2 hours ago. You cannot out-meditate a biological stress response triggered by a severe glucose crash. Mood, motivation, and emotional resilience fluctuate right alongside your metabolic regulation. Stable emotions fundamentally require stable blood sugar.
That is a profound realization. It forces us to look at the modern food environment as a kind of psychological hazard. We are surrounded by ultra-processed foods engineered to be hyperpalatable, designed to hit our bloodstream like a freight train. It feels like our biology is fundamentally mismatched with the world we have built for ourselves.
It is the ultimate evolutionary mismatch. For millions of years, human metabolism evolved under conditions of scarcity. We ate fibrous, complex foods that digested slowly. We had intermittent periods of fasting, and we moved our bodies constantly. Our metabolic machinery is designed for a slow, steady drip of energy. Fast forward to today, and we are sitting motionless in ergonomic chairs, drinking liquid sugar and eating engineered carbohydrates. We are putting our brains through a level of metabolic chaos they were never designed to handle.
Which brings us to the counter movement. We are seeing this massive rise in biohacking and metabolic awareness. Continuous glucose monitors, or CGMs, were once strictly for managing diabetes, but now everyday people are wearing them to track their blood sugar in real time. It seems like a radical shift in how we approach human cognitive performance.
It is a total paradigm shift. For the first time in human history, we do not have to guess what a meal does to our body. We can see it on our smartphones in real time. You might eat a bowl of oatmeal thinking it is the perfect, healthy breakfast, only to watch your glucose spike into the stratosphere. This technology takes the blindfold off. It allows for absolute metabolic precision. People are discovering that their sleep quality, their daily stress levels, and even a simple 10-minute walk after a meal can radically alter how their body handles glucose.
It is fascinating because it shifts the power dynamic. It is no longer about blindly following generic dietary guidelines or relying on sheer willpower. It is about decoding your own unique biological algorithm. We are moving from a society that relies on stimulants like caffeine to mask our exhaustion, to one that engineers stable energy from the ground up. Perhaps mental clarity is less about finding the right stimulant and entirely about achieving metabolic stability.
A profound insight. The brain functions at its absolute best under conditions of stable energy delivery, reduced inflammation, healthy insulin signaling, and metabolic flexibility. The future of performance medicine is not going to be about endless cups of coffee or energy drinks. It will increasingly focus on glucose regulation, meal timing, circadian rhythms, and mitochondrial health as the absolute foundations for cognitive excellence.
And that is a beautifully empowering thought. It reframes our entire relationship with food. Every single meal becomes information. It is a biochemical signal you are sending to your brain, shaping your energy, your emotion, your attention, and your resilience for the hours to follow.
Exactly. We need to stop viewing mental fatigue as just an inevitable part of the modern grind. It is not simply psychological exhaustion. It is metabolic instability repeating silently throughout the day. If you want to perform at your peak, you have to realize that the brain simply does not think clearly without stable fuel.
Stable energy creates clear thinking. It is a biological law we can no longer afford to ignore. So, the next time you feel that heavy afternoon fog rolling in, do not just reach for another temporary fix. Ask yourself what information you are feeding your brain and whether you are fueling a steady, brilliant fire or just setting off another biochemical explosion. This is the frontier of health intelligence. Thank you for tuning in to this exploration of the mind and metabolism. Keep your energy stable and your thinking clear.